Hey everybody, it's Tracy from salontraining.com, and we have some special guests today. Jesse and X Factor. I'm just going to keep calling you X Factor because that's what we say. This is a really cool thing that we're going to be doing today is we're just talking. We're just talking about who these beautiful people are in the industry, what they are creating, and we have some really hot topics that we want to talk about. So I know it was going around a lot of social media recently, and people were asking me and stuff, and I'm sure they were asking you a lot more. I was one of those people. What was going on with the education in the beauty industry? Like, is it getting taken away? The hours. We're going to talk into that, and then we're also talking about apprenticeship, and then your board certified hair color, which I'm really pumped about learning actually a little bit more about as well. So let's dive in. Jesse, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and X Factor, if you want to do the same after him.
My name is Jesse Skittrell, and I'm the founder and program coordinator for the Atarashii Apprentice Program, and also the executive director for the Board of Certified Haircolorists.
All right. Hi, guys. My name is Xavier, but Tracy's calling me X Factor because I also come from X Factor Agency. That's how I met these lovely people. I work with both of them day in and day out for both apprenticeship and just overall in the beauty industry to make sure that we are keeping top of mind, staying ahead of the curve, and how the heck do we navigate through this fun industry we work in?
And
That's
Xavier's on the boards of certified hair colors as well. He's a public.
Oh, yes, just that little tidbit I forgot to say, right? So I am the public director on the Board of Certified Haircolorists as well. So I'm hands deep in hair color, apprenticeship, and everything salontraining.com as well. So happy to be here.
that's awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. All right, let's jump into the hot topic that was going
Ooh.
around a couple months ago, and I'm sure it's still filtering out there a good bit. So there was what are they doing with their hours, Jesse, as far as schooling and taking away, and what's that all mean?
Yes. So one, I want to say that there's a lot of hyperbole that's going on right now, and the biggest thing we can possibly do as an industry is not react and stay calm and manage through these waters. So let's get some reality of what's being said versus what's actually happening. We are actually hitting the perfect storm. And the perfect storm is a combination of different things. There is, period, because of technology, there's no more gatekeeping of information. And that is actually creating a problem already on the school level because now you have students coming in that are kind of pre-trained, whether they did it themselves, but they have access to information and they have access to interest going on. That has changed the culture inside of schools along the way. Now, that is also partnered with the fact that we have lots of laws changing as far as schooling and hours and so on and so forth. And where this is coming from is the federal government has realized that there is a lot of people that are getting into the industry that are also jumping out of the industry. So the big aha here and how we landed on the federal government's radar is 40% of the defaulted student loans overall, 40%. So we're talking colleges, dental hygienists, all of it. 40% of the defaulted loans are our industry. We're the problem. So when you take a look at the top 20 schools from the Department of Education, there are 9 of those schools, 11 of those schools that are cosmetology or barbering schools that have the highest default rate. So we got, and this isn't new news. This is actually 10-year-old news from the Obama administration. So this is not connected to politics whatsoever. This is not new news. And so that started the gainful employment movement that started in the Obama administration that put us square on that said that there had to be some reforms here. And there was some statutes put into and laws put into place in regards to tracking and how that student had to be tracked after school and they have to be gainfully employed. They have to be making more money than a high school graduate, et cetera, et cetera. And through that, legislators figured out that we weren't able to make the same money. So they have now come back to the laws and said, why are we going through so many damn hours in school to get to a career that people are dropping out of? This make it make sense. So that's where a lot of this 1,000 hours is coming from. And we're not seeing it's in somebody else asked me this, they're like, oh, what states have deregulated? Nobody's deregulated. This story has to stop. We haven't deregulated. What they have done is pulled out these micro pieces, such as braiding has been moved off of, okay, now it isn't regulated, or we've had blow drying, or we've had hair extensions, or we've had um, lash extensions. So it feels on the surface like our licenses are being peeled away from, but at the end of the day, the actual license is still intact and still in place and hasn't been removed where the hours are at. So I can understand the perception, but the reality does not equate what's there. Now, what's happened is this gainful employment was put off and put off and appealed and appealed and appealed and appealed by large school groups. I'll be the one to say it. ACES was probably the biggest school group that's out there that appealed this and kicked the can down the street, kicked the can down the street. And we've been in constant conversation, or they have, with legislators to say, hey, this tracking method that you want is not feasible. We can't do this. This isn't real. And then, there was some fight over how the Department of Labor is reporting the wages, et cetera, et cetera. And there's long conversation. This has been going on for quite a while. Well, what happened with the current administration is that gainful employment got wrapped into big, beautiful bill, and other professions were attached to it, such as nurses, such as dental hygienists, so on and so forth. All these what they call, and I hate using the word because it doesn't really apply, these low-level certification programs that are quick and fast and easy. So they got lumped into that with us as well. But now that means we're in a bigger bubble. We're now really being watched. We're not just on our own. Sorry, my computer likes to freeze occasionally. So that put us on the radar even a little bit more. And now there's a time clock that's attached to that. And we've appealed ourselves to death, and now we can't. So that's where all of this is coming into play, July 1st. And you hear a lot of attached to that is one of the largest school associations has come out and said that 92% of cosmetology schools will close. Again, this is a little hyperbolic, so we all need to bring it down a notch. What that means is 92% of the schools will be out of compliance. So this goes into place July 1st, but they have time to get into compliance. It's 2 years that they have to get into compliance. So we probably won't begin to see any form of failure on a big, massive way until about July 2027. Okay. So
What does that look like? What do they need to do to comply? Like, what is that?
Great question. They're going to have to comply. So in the compliance, they're going to have to prove that the person that's graduating got their license, number one, and they have to follow them throughout their career. What are they working? How are they, what kind of money are they making, et cetera, et cetera. And they have to be able to prove that this person, and they have to be able to make more money than a high school graduate. So there's a benchmark, and I want to say it's $27,000. Last I took a look on the federal level. So, and there's methods of review, there's methods of audit that have to be followed, et cetera, et cetera. And that's part of the accreditation process that have to be followed. Now, here's where the story gets a little bit weirder. So yes, 92% of schools will be out of compliance. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll close. That just means they have to get into compliance. So they have time to be able to get into compliance. So there's even a little bit more time. Now, some schools aren't going to make it. That is true. They're going to, the smaller schools that just cannot, I mean, that's a lot of administrative burden for a school. That's a position, that's a lot to ask for a financial aid officer when we're already talking about budgets. But here's what people don't understand. 86% of the cosmetology schools in the United States are not accredited. They are not having to go through this title funding. So again, 92% of accredited schools will have an issue. But if you're not dealing with accreditation to get the federal funding and you're a private pay, you're not on that radar. So again, I think and I'm throwing myself on the radar here when I say I think the narrative was used to create a lot of excitement and a lot of panic that isn't actually necessarily true. So There's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And
We're gonna get some comments. I know that.
yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get lambasted because that's the reality. And a lot of this, just so it's fun, I'm not making this stuff up. Obviously, some of this comes from Institute of Justice. They're kind of leading the way on a lot of this. America First Foundation, Illinois Policy has been a group. These are all third-party groups that do research and pull these numbers. So this isn't stuff that we're just pulling out of the middle of nowhere. We're pulling from multiple sources outside of our industry that are having this conversation.
Fabulous. All right, so I might get some hate stuff on this too.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure.
I'm clutching my pearls already, going, oh boy.
Yes. So quite a few of us have been talking and stuff about this, and it goes both ways. We have some people that are like, gosh, we really got to make sure that the schools, and why are they only making 27,000? And the blame game starts. They're only making 27,000 because the schools are terrible and they don't do what they're supposed to do, and blah, 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 blah. I disagree. I know some salon owners that do a fabulous, or school owners, I'm sorry, that do a fabulous job. And I also know some schools that are very lacking. And let's be real, it hasn't changed in many years. So sorry if you're a school owner. I do love you, and I do think you do really great work. I know many of you that do amazing. But I agree with some people saying what we see. I own a salon in Evansburg, Pennsylvania. Been in the industry for 30 years, 23 or 24 years, salon owner, have a team of 21 right now. And we're seeing the same things as other people and all over. And the thing is that they're either coming in and they don't have, they don't know how to do a men's haircut, like that was going on in our particular area for a very long time, saying, hey, I did one men's haircut. The other thing that was saying is they're not allowed to get, they're not allowed to get the public in schools anymore, so they always have to do their Freds. That's another thing. The other one was, well, we're not allowed to make any money off of anything, so we can't teach them how to sell retail and teach properly, and we can't teach them how to blah 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 blah. Okay, but yet there are schools that are doing a pretty decent job at some of this. Like, we get some of these students in and we talk to them, what do they know? And they're like, oh yes, I have to rebook my clients. And then you talk to someone else that went to a different school and they're like, I didn't know I had to rebook. I thought I was going to have to just post my stuff on social media. So I do highly agree with what we're going to be talking about next, which is the apprenticeship, about the beautiful program that they can be taught in your salons, which I think is fabulous. I still think there's a need for schools. I still love the schools. And I just wish that there would be some more education into the schools as far as how to build a business. The other stuff, of course, comes, even nurses or anything else. Like, we're blaming the schools for everything. And I don't think that that's fair, because a nurse isn't going to know how to do every single thing they learn on the job, just like anybody else. But I think a little bit more on the business side really should be there. And so I love the fact that what you're doing and we're talking about is your apprentice program. So you're not against schools either. Let's put that out there, correct? Like,
yeah, 100%. I actually come from a family that owned a cosmetology school.
Awesome.
So we've made our lives that way. So the first thing I would say to kind of address that is our industry is experiencing a shift. We've gone from teaching to the license. And if you're not looking through this lens as a school or apprenticeship program or a salon, you're doing yourself a disservice. We've gone from teaching to get the license to teaching to proficiency and looking at a workforce development solution. That is not the same. We have, unfortunately, and you're right, there is a large percentage of schools that were designed for the cosmetology education industry. It was a separate industry from the industry. It did not serve the industry. It just created people that are licensed. The schools that you're talking about that are quality have changed that lens, and they're looking at workforce development solutions, which includes proficiency. So those are the ones, they're going to survive this beautifully because they've adapted to technology. They're looking through where's the proficiency here lens, and adopting accordingly. I could name them. And I've been at the table with some of these schools. You're right. They are top notch and incredible. But where the disconnect comes is when we have a lot of people don't fit into that structure. One, they can't pay because they can't afford it. So we just created a barrier. You have rural areas. Rural area, I mean, the problem you have in rural areas is if Betty wants to become a hairdresser, she has to pick up and move to the next nearest biggest town in order to survive. She goes to cosmetology school, gets her license. She doesn't move back to her little town and take her skill set with her. So what did you just do? You move the economy around and the taxes. In apprenticeship, the Betty can go down to Georgia's beauty box and she can become the best version of herself under Georgia's direction with the structure of registered apprenticeship program, and she's in compliance, and it's just another avenue to licensure, to building this workforce with some quality. And really the two of these sit side by side. The person that goes to cosmetology school isn't the person that does apprenticeship. The person that does apprenticeship does not fit well into cosmetology school. Another great example is the immigrant population. We see this all the time. I've been a hairdresser for 30 years in pick a country, and it wasn't licensed there, and now it is. So now you have this very experienced person who's had to pay to learn the craft that they're, and I've been the cosmetology school instructor, watching the woman from Iran who teaches everybody in the school. I mean, skip me. She could have surpassed all the instructors. And why is she there? She should be in a apprenticeship situation, making money for herself, but also working in the workforce as well. So it's not a matter of this is better than that. It's about an and. This is an and. There is these are two different opportunities and two different ways to get there.
Awesome. So for those of the people that don't understand apprenticeship, because there's still quite a few that don't, and I'm learning more and more the more that I talk to you, because we don't have a whole lot of it in our area. And, we talked about this, that PA sometimes has some,
God bless them.
We'll just call it like it is, some crazy, not so great rules in Pennsylvania. Yes. Being one that if we wanted to take an apprenticeship program, we would have to have someone in our salon that would be with that person all the time that has a teacher's license. And a lot of people do not have teacher's license. And even if they did, they might have got that form. Like I got it like 30 years ago or whatever. I got it, and I can't be there the entire time with my team, where I would have loved to do this program. But not everybody has a teaching license. So Pennsylvania is kind of like they need to get on the ball. Yes. But we can have someone in the salon teaching them that has 15 years experience, and they're not going to allow it. Like that's just insane. But you can go 6 months or or whatever, get your license, and now you can train someone. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so let's talk about like really what is the apprentice program for those that have no idea what it even is.
Well, let's talk about what apprentice is and then our role in apprenticeship. So when we talk about apprenticeship, I want to be really clear here. Apprenticeship is an employer-employee relationship that happens to have a educational component attached to it. And that's really important when we talk about workforce development, because the reality is, whether we like it or not, we are not an academic industry. I know I'm going to get some hate for that. We are a hands-on trade, no matter how you slice and dice it. This trade has been taught generation to generation to generation for years, even before we had licensing. That's how it was taught. And that has been the gold standard. And we as an industry have accepted the fact that, and I've been there, I've been the cosmetology instructor. How many times have we said to a student, everything you're going to need to learn, you'll learn once you're out there anyway? We've heard it. I've heard other instructors say it. And the problem is, the reality is, there's some things that have to be learned in real time in that environment, no matter how you slice it. I can simulate it till I'm blue in the face, but the reality of implementation is completely different. And I need to see it modeled in real time. And that's really what apprenticeship does. Is it allows you a structured opportunity to be able to collect whatever the hours are in a compliant way so that they can be applied towards licensure and through that exam process. And up until this point, apprenticeship in our industry has kind of been this wild, wild west, wild card thing that, nobody really does. That's the words I've heard from some industry leaders. And God forbid we get organized. Well, here I am. I'm here to help. I'm here to make things organized. So where this came from is in registered apprenticeship land. I started registered apprenticeship. I'm in Washington State. I started it in my salon company. And I've ran evening programs. I've ran school programs. I'm actually a subject matter expert for pivot point as well, and now the Board of Certified Haircolorists as well. And so I know how to run a program. And I took on an apprentice early in my days as a salon owner, and I floundered. I didn't, I was busy running a salon. I couldn't focus on this. Thank God my apprentice was a smart kid. So I got to the end of it and realized I did her really realized and had a conversation with myself. I did her dirty because I didn't have the structure built into place. So that set me on this track of, if I, as a business salon owner, can't figure it out, how do we expect anybody else to figure it out? So that's where Atarashii came from. And Atarashii means new and fresh. It's a different way to approach things. And we wanted to create a system or a way where the busy salon owner could focus on just creating a great service provider, and all the other pieces and parts were taken care of for them. The compliance, the structure, the recording, the tracking, the all of those pieces, and the curriculum. And that's really where it came from. Through that process with Atarashii, we actually have been appointed through the Department of Labor as the apprenticeship ambassador to the beauty trades. So our goal is to work with each state and state boards, and we are actively doing it today. I was just on the phone with Maine and Mississippi as of yesterday, talking about apprenticeships and looking at how we can crosswalk existing apprenticeship into a DOL, Department of Labor registered apprenticeship program, which is the gold standard when we talk about apprenticeship programs. That's really the Department of Labor has been doing apprenticeship for almost 100 years now. They know every unintended consequence. And apprenticeship, at the end of the day, no matter how you want to slice and dice it, you can call it training, internship, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, this is an employer-employee relationship, and that means it has to be managed by the Department of Labor, period. So you'll see we advocate that, because there's a lot of state programs, Pennsylvania is one of them, where the state board runs the program, and they don't really understand workforce development, and they cannot oversight labor. They can oversight public safety. Those are two different things. So in places where it doesn't exist, we do legislation to make it exist. Illinois is a great example. We participated with IDFPR. And where the statute does exist, we're working towards actively getting recognition for Department of Labor in place of that. So Pennsylvania is a really great example of that, because as a safety net, the state board put in place years ago, you have to be an instructor. Well, that doesn't really solve the problem. What that does is it mimics beauty school in the salon. That is not what we're doing. It is totally a different game, and that's where the mistake happens, and that's where what our job is to help bridge that gap a little bit.
So one of the biggest hot topics that salon owners face anytime that we ask them, like, what is your biggest challenge? It is always hiring. It's always up the top. I'm sure there's other things too, but that one always comes up. So this is a nice solution to this, and we get different feedback, and I was also one of them when I wasn't understanding this at the very beginning. Like, what do you mean they have no license, no training whatsoever? We're going to come in and we're going to pay them to get their school? What? Like, what? And of course that's still going to be the top thing I think you're probably hearing as well. Even whenever I mention to some people, they're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to pay someone to go to school. Okay. But the reality, whenever you and I talked about it and talked it through, I was like, gosh, this makes a lot of sense, because I pay to have my team trained anyway. For months at the front desk, they train, and then they train, different. And then we train the shampoos, we train this. So what in the world's the difference other than we're training the way that we want them to, and then they're getting their license anyway. And then they seem to be more loyal. And that's what you're seeing, is they tend to stay longer. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, boy, you know how to get me going, Tracey. Some of our KPIs, we have a 97% first time pass rate to the licensure exam.
Awesome.
So we have a 93% retention to the salon 3 years later. So that answers the gainful employment thing. When schools ask me all the time, what's your gainful employment? I'm 100% all the time. It starts with the job. So 93% retention to the salon, 86% completion rate. So those that get in complete. And then they have a 75% productivity rate, which means our average apprentice has a book when they're done that is 3/4 of the way full. That is a huge deal, because that's a 3-year metric for a stylist that survives the industry after licensure. So that's step one. So proof is in the pudding. We have 750 apprentices in our program and at any moment, and 500 training partners on a rolling scale at any moment. So we're probably the largest proof of case study of this in the United States because we are a national program. Now, with that being said, why should I pay them? How should I pay them? The first thing, and I really invite any listeners here to please put down the vitriol for a second. And I want you to figure out how to make this work before you figure out how not to make this work. And I invite you to take a different perspective. Now, what I mean by that is we as an industry have accepted the fact that these kids coming out of school, and I say kids because I'm an old guy, coming out of school are not proficient. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know their, excuse the expression, I'm going to swear, asses from their elbows. It's really, and so we as salon owners have said, okay, I'll put them through training programs. We've seen the associate training program through Summit. We've seen skill certification through strategies. These are all fail safes to train somebody. And the second, and any salon worth their weight in gold is training somebody fresh out of school. So you're already investing those dollars because you're not paying them. So you're investing those dollars, no matter how you slice and dice it. We're just slowing that pace down a little bit for a novice and bringing them up. So you heard the retention levels, but what's interesting about this is these apprentices have no preconceived notions on how things should be done. They only know to do what their mentor shows them to do. So they walk, talk, act, behave like their mentor. So the learning curve is actually faster once you get it going than it would be for somebody out of school because you have to undo all of these thoughts or notions that don't necessarily exist. So they only know to pre-book. They only know to offer retail, to make the retail offering. They only know to blow dry like this. As a great example, like I said, I grew up in the back room of a cosmetology school. My mom and my grandmother owned a school. My uncle owned a salon about a block away, and he was the wig master for the Seattle Opera. And so if I wasn't there, I was at the salon. So I was setting wigs. I always like to say I've touched Dolly Parton's wig, never met her personally. One time. So I learned a lot from just watching him in the salon. So I'm blow drying, doing all my thing. I'm about 3 years into my career, and somebody looks at me and says, you're right-handed, but you're blow drying left-handed. Why is that? My uncle's left-handed. I only did what I saw. I didn't know any different. And to this day, I blow dry left-handed. So I'm backwards because that was my experience. That was all I knew. So I only do what's there. So you mimic that through. So you end up with this really I want to say ethically married person to your culture and your skill set. I mean, it solves a whole plethora. And we find these salon owners that have built apprenticeship into their workforce model are having massive success. We have an employer training partner in Terre Haute, Indiana, little salon, and she couldn't get people in to save her life. She was having a hard time building her workforce, et cetera, et cetera. She's now on the opposite end going, I'm taking out my spa. I'm going to put in more chair stations, or I'm getting a bigger building, something, because she's like, these apprentices don't want to leave. She's like, I was never really intending for the, so it's part of her work process that she does on a regular basis. And now they're having incredible success through apprenticeship. And we see that repeated over and over and over across the country. So yeah, it works really, really well. So now to piggyback on that, and sorry, Tracy, just cut me off anytime, is when we implement apprenticeship into a salon, we of course assign them a learning leader. So that's somebody in our organization that walks them through the whole process. They're the point of contact. They're going to meet with you on a regular basis. They're going to beat up the apprentice, make sure they're on track. They're also going to teach the salon how to teach. And we've organized the learning path in a different way than you would school. It's how you would implement somebody in the salon. So instead of going in the back classroom for 12 weeks and learning roller sets and pin curls, we're actually starting at the front desk. So you're going to get the same learning path. You're going to get the same scope of experience, but instead of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it's going to be X, T, R, S, T, Y. You'll get the same thing, but we're going to start at the front desk because I need you to see the big picture. I need you to know what's going on. I need you to know my time standards, my pricing, my top 10 clients, my top 10 products, how we talk. So, and then that also helps you develop their work ethic because they're going to show their ass. If they're not committed, you're going to know really quickly. And then from there, we move into an assisting capability where we're going to teach them shampooing and blow drying. That's the obvious one. We're going to get them assisting a master stylist, which we can then turn that master stylist into a 30% more productivity. So all of a sudden, there's your return on investment. And then from there, we start teaching them skill sets and we give them what's called an opportunity day. That opportunity day is 6 hours and they have to fill it with either discounted services models, whatever the case may be, is, or even paying clients. It doesn't matter. They have to fill it. It's their job. So they're assisting and then doing that. And as they fill up that opportunity day, we add a second opportunity day and so on and so on and so on. And then they just, by the end of the program, they have a full set. So it's a much different way to build your workforce than what we're used to in cosmetology school. And it's very, very effective if it's done accordingly.
So whenever you say like, the first question that I got from salon owners was also my question, too, when we were discussing this. How in the world am I going to have time to do this? I don't work behind the chair very often at all anymore. And I love talking to salon owners now in the place that I am. And I'm glad I went through with what I went, the crazy amount of hours, 80 hours a week doing, client after client after client for so many years. And then I remember someone saying, and we hear this all the time, are you running a business or are you a hairstylist? Which one do you want to be? And that was really eye-opening for me. And I got to the point where like, you know what, I love to be a hairstylist, but you're right. Like the other part of it, you're there at midnight still doing orders and stuff. And it is very freeing to the salon owners that say they want to have a business as well, and putting different people in place. There's I listen to Tony Robbins constantly. Everybody knows that knows me, like, and Dean Graziosi. And one of their programs that I was in, they had a not to do list, and I love this, the not to do list. And it takes all the things that you don't want to do as a salon owner. Like, I don't like to do the orders. I don't like to do the scheduling. I like to do, what do you like? And then can someone else on the team actually do this without you having to you don't have to, you can train someone else on your team to do this. And then that frees you up. So whenever salon owners are saying, well, I don't have time, you can have time, if you structure it correctly. And I know whenever I was going through it and if I wasn't there, the salon would be falling apart financially because I had to be there. When you get yourself in a position where you don't have to be the person behind the chair, I can promise you the salon runs so much better because you have time to do the important. I do all the training in our salon as far as, and I bring in a ton of different educators constantly. And that has allowed me to bring people that were 15% rebooked, 20% rebooked, up to 75% rebooked. And the productivity without having my team hardly has any gaps anymore. It's really good because that was setting, you have to set some things. And I love the fact that if you don't have the time because you're behind the chair, that is the hamster wheel that a lot of us do. So your program is great because you don't have to be with them the entire time, correct? I mean, because you said that you guys teach certain things too. So can you real briefly, and then we'll get into the next topic of like, what do the salon owners teach? Like you already said, the reception desk and stuff like that, but what do you guys teach on that too?
So there's a couple of different pieces. And I always like to tell people, this is sound weird, our learning leaders don't teach, they guide. So teaching no longer is about puking information and memorization. It's about guiding to content and helping. It's the art of discovery. I hear that all the time at a pivot point, and I love that. It's the art of discovery, helping them to discover things. Now, in doing that, if we're really honest with ourselves, when we take a look at all the stuff we have to learn, there's about 48% of the content that we have to do that can be self-consumed, meaning things like anatomy and physiology, bacteriology, sterilization, sanitation, electricity. All those are required for licensing, but I do not need a teacher sitting in front of me going, there's an wrong with me. I don't need that, and I don't need you doing it, and that's not a good use of your time. So we've designed the learning path, and whether it's Milady or whether it's Pivot Point, it doesn't make a difference. They both have the same concepts of they've now got ways to present this information and consume it and measure the skill set that don't require you sitting in front of them. Then we've now identified the hands-on pieces, the haircut, the color, whatever the case may be is, and we break that down into three parts: demonstrate, practice, and perform. So one, they need it demonstrated to them, show them. We do part of the work for you because in the learning path, you're going to have the theoretical demonstration. So the blow dry done by Pivot Point over here. Of course, you have your way of doing it in your salon, so you're going to have to show them, which can be accomplished through OJT. You're already doing this. You're doing the haircut and the blow dry. It's as simple as having Sally watch you do the blow dry and walk it through. And I always like to say to the guest, because I've run apprentices myself, is, hey, do you mind if I just narrate this for her benefit? And more often than not, they say yes. Sometimes they say no, but you'll just narrate it. Hey, I'm parting here. As an example, I start all my blow dries in the very front around the frame because it's finer hair. And that's where I want the most volume. And the hair takes 20 minutes to cool down. So I'm going to narrate all that stuff to my apprentice at the same time. I've just accomplished the demonstrate component. While I was working in the salon, I didn't change anything that I did. Then practice is usually the part where people get stuck because practice is practice. How many mannequins, how many humans, whatever the case may be is. You pick. So, and the nice part about apprenticeship is this is a one-on-one relationship. So it could move fast or it can move slow. You're going to experience an apprentice that gets it. Great. They've practiced it. They've done it perfectly. They've done a human. You're good. Move on. Or you're going to have the, oh God, she needs to do 400 of these in order to get it. So the learning experience adjusts to the user instead of us trying to have to work to the group of 25 in a classroom. So that makes it a little bit better. And then at the very end of practice, you're going to do performance assessment. So we provide them all the performance assessment tools. It's done through our app on their phone. All they have to do is stand there, watch her do it. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, the reality is because this is a one-on-one relationship, when I'm working with an apprentice, I know by the end. I know by the time she's done with practice whether she gets it or not. I can pull up that performance assessment and go, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And now I have evidence as a program that you've actually evaluated her skill set. Here's the fun part. No salon owner is ever going to turn out crappy work. It's their name. They're not going to let somebody just go willy-nilly off into la la land and just start hacking away on a client because it's their reputation that's on their shoulders. So there's kind of a fail safe that's actually been built into all of that as well. Now take it a step further, and like you said, Joan's really good with long hair dressing. John's colorist. So now we're going to book Joan to teach long hair dressing. Now we're going to put John is going to be the one doing. I'm not doing the lift. I'm just coordinating the effort more than anything else. I can easily do that while I'm standing behind the chair and doing hair. And especially if I have somebody that's an accountability partner like Atarashii, where I have somebody saying, hey, have you done this? Have you done this? Where's this at? Where's this? I need this. I need you to consume this. And, let us be the bad guy. We spank the apprentice sometimes. That's necessary. We're not in the room. Let the bus roll over us. We can be the jerk. You can then maintain the relationship. So that's kind of how we've really been able to build apprenticeship in the salon.
Well, thank you for doing this in our industry. That is awesome. I love it.
Thank you, Mike.
And you will be speaking about this again at the salon owners meeting.
Yes.
For those of you that are near Pennsylvania, we have something coming up on Sunday, September 20th in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And we'll put the information here in the comments later after that for anybody that wants to. I know you're going to be talking a little bit more one-on-one, like at a table or something, and a presentation. And all kinds of other things at that event, which is exciting. Now, let's get into the fun part of this too, as far as what the creative part on doing color and stuff. Tell me a little bit more about that program.
So and they're connected. So that's the one thing I like people to understand is why are we talking board certified hair colorist and apprenticeship at the same time? So the gentleman that had the vision or mission for the Board of Certified Hair Colorists, his name was Andre Nizatich, but may he rest in peace. Andre has since passed, and he started this in 1996. And he actually was the impetus for apprenticeship in the state of California. So he managed the legislation. So that's kind of where he came from. And then he found this as kind of a secondary piece to it as well. So the Board of Certified Hair Colorists is really about certification of your skill set. So while yes, we share information on how hair color works, which I'm going to show you here in just a second, we're really about putting the stamp of certification approval. So this is non-manufacturer based measurement. We're not looking at, do you use Wella, do you use Redken correctly? That's not what we're doing. We're looking at your skill set, the psychology. Do you understand formulating? Can you actually apply it? There's a performance assessment. And the way that this is done is in the framework of apprenticeship. So we put you into a what's called a competency-based apprenticeship program through the Department of Labor. So this is all done in the same framework that we're doing with fundamental apprenticeship. So you will actually receive a certificate from the federal government that says
Wow.
Board Certified Hair Colorist, and you are permanently on the registry through the Department of Labor as a Board Certified Hair Colorist. On top of the certification certificate, the certification certificate that you receive from us as well. This sits on your countertop beautifully. Xavier designed this, so these are quite lovely.
Very cool.
And I don't
That's
know
where
if
the
you,
X factor does come in, doesn't
yeah,
it?
he designs all this, and you can see how all the light goes through it as well. So not only do you have a certification from a non-manufacturer based group, and this isn't me saying what the certification is. You actually will test out blindly with people that are on our assessor board, and our assessor board is separate from the actual board of certified hair colorists. Those are two different boards, and there's three parts to the assessment, and you do them in succession to each other. The first part is the written assessment. In the written, and it's taken through a third-party testing, very similar to licensing. It's 150 questions. You have 90 minutes to complete it, and they're going to be multiple choice, true and false. And the information is drawn directly from our reference book called Colorcraft, because you have to have a reference manual in order to be able to pull this off. This is 495 pages of everything you needed to know about how hair color works and all the pieces and parts to it. And so all the questions are drawn directly from this text. And once you pass that certification at that level, you're a level 1 certified hair colorist. Now you get a digital badge with that, and then you're kept in the program. This whole thing is an apprentice program. And then step 2 is our competency portfolio. The competency portfolio, you're actually going to submit a series of work of swatches to us as well. That's going to show stages of lightness. It's going to call deposition of color. We actually have a vivid swatch that's done and color removed at the same time. You're going to submit that to us. And this is all done virtually. You don't ever have to leave your home or your home salon. This is all done virtually. And then you're going to actually do 5 case studies in a testing environment where we're going to present the case study, and it's a video consultation as well as inspiration pictures, and then where the guest is at. And then you have to formulate those pieces. And that's actually what's assessed, the combination of those two for your competency portfolio. Once that's achieved and you pass that segment, you are a level 2 certified hair color. So you get a digital badge as well. That digital badge you can put on Facebook, social media, anywhere you want. And then the capstone certification, which is the final piece, and it's the Mac Daddy, is the performance assessment. So that's actually, again, done in a virtual environment, which sounds very weird when people do this. We use the same third-party testing service some states that are doing virtual practical exams are using. And when you do it, you actually are on camera, much like we are now, but there is your cell phone's directly behind you. So I see everything that's going on at the same time, and it's all videotaped. So it's put into assessment, and then our assessors assess it afterwards. And you're going to do a mannequin that has 4 quadrants on it. I meant to grab my mannequin. And you'll actually have pre-prepared the mannequin. It has a gray quadrant, a natural quadrant, and a highlight retouch quadrant, and then a quadrant that is bleached out mid-lengths to ends, and there's a regrowth on it. And the first 2 quadrants are already assigned to you. We know we're going to do a highlight retouch. We know we're going to do a highlight, natural highlight over here with a combination of weave and foils. So we're looking at skill set, your ability to lift, not bleed, all of that is going to be measured in that. In the back 2 quadrants, those are what we call random techniques. So those are drawn the day of. So you don't actually know what you're going to do until you're sitting in front of the proctor, and they're going to say, you're going to do tone on tone. You're going to do a bleach retouch on this side, and you have to be prepared for that. So you're preparing for about 9 different techniques, but you're really only going to do 4. And then you'll execute them. You have about an hour and a half to execute the whole head. It's all done on camera. And then our evaluators evaluate. You don't know who your evaluator is, so there's no favoritism. They don't know who you are. Everything's assigned a number, and they are not coaching or testing you as well. So that once that's completed and you pass that, that's the capstone. All 3 parts of those are there. The registered apprenticeship is considered complete. You get your completion certificate. You are a level 3 board certified hair colorist. So level 1 and 2 are certified hair colorists. Level 3 is board certified, and then you obviously get the certificate from us as well, and then you get listed in our directory. So you can go to the Board of Certified Haircolorists.com and look yourself up on the directory at any point. So
Real quick, Tracy, is there a way that I can share my screen as Jesse's, because we have visuals on the website that I can show while
Yes,
he's.
and I want to make sure, can we put your book on our salon training as well in the products? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
That's Xavier's job. This is where he comes into play.
Awesome.
So here are the samples of what these digital badges look like. Because of course we could say, here's all the rainbows and unicorns in this fabulous fantasy land of hair color, right? But what does it actually look like? So on the website at Board of Certified Haircolorists.com, we have in our programs page a sample of what these digital badges look like. So you can look forward to what they would look like with your name and date on them. And then also the directory that Jesse just referred to, we do have on the website that is live. So here's where we have an interactive directory where we can click anywhere in the region that you're looking for, or even a customer, average Joe coming off the street wanting to know who's the closest hair colorist to me in Florida down here. So I can click on Jacksonville. Okay, there's one there. Lehman. Okay, great. I'll go to Orange Park, Florida. That's where I need to get it, my hair colored. And if not, there's a huge directory down here, and you can scroll right to get their address, phone number, state, zip code, and even their websites or even personal Instagrams and Facebooks if they have to show off their portfolio before you decide to book that appointment with them. But everyone on this list is board certified, so it's super exciting time.
That is
And
awesome.
can you show where the Xavier, where the sample book is and the sample test?
Absolutely. So on the home page, we have, well, this is our lovely website that I helped design. So here we have, I'm gonna so to make it bigger. This is a sample book. So this is literally a digital preview of what the textbook that Jesse just held looks like, so that you can get a little glimpse of the type of verbiage, terminology, education that we have in this book that has come across, I don't know, about 20 contributors, maybe even more, Jesse, of experts in the field between curl specialists, product brands, and things like that has helped form this beautiful textbook worth of years of hair color experience and technique. And it's all right free on the homepage to take a look here live and in real time. And of course, you can order both a digital hard copy, or actually both. We're doing a bundle as well, where you can get both sides of the world, where you can get the digital experience as well as the printed copy. Now, you don't have to be board certified to purchase the textbook. You can come here to purchase the textbook so you have it lovely on your bookshelf like I do as well. I may not be a hair colorist, but I do have the book so that I can learn while everyone else is learning about hair color as well.
That's
And then there's a spot on there where you can actually take a sample assessment of the written.
Yes, let's talk about the sample assessment. Went right out the window. I was super excited about the book. So here's our sample assessment. So on the homepage, you can hit Get Started Today, and it would take you right through this form. You fill out the form, and it would take you right into the sample assessment. The sample assessment is a very similar experience to what Jesse described as the written assessment, which is it's going to be a pool of questions. You answer them right or wrong, and it will tell you if you're right or wrong, and then which is the right answer, so that you kind of get that similar experience of what it may look like to go through the certification program.
awesome.
And I always tell people, check out our contributors, because this isn't a matter of one person wrote the book. This is a group of SMEs, subject matter experts, that came together and they collaborated on the writing of this book. So, we have obviously people like Beth Minardi. We're going to have Phyllis LeBeau from Trionics, Lisa Kelly and then people like Carol Wood Anderson from Cinderella Hair Extensions. So this is a collective of information that is non-manufacturer based that's built into this, and that's what the test is built off of as well.
Missy Peterson.
Oh yeah, good old Missy from
Cammy.
Malibu.
Love that.
Cammy, yeah, I mean, it's a great little, and there's a couple secret ones on there that will probably show up later this year that we'll just leave there. So leave it as a surprise.
Awesome. Oh,
So,
Phyllis, I didn't see her there.
yeah,
Okay.
Phyllis, yeah, because Phyllis is there. Lisa Kelly, it's a great. We're
A
just so
great group of contributors, and they've been fabulous to work with to put these chapters together, to put their knowledge on paper, as well as Jesse's knowledge as well, to really write the new era of BCH.
And what we
Um,
did is, sorry to cut you off, Xavier, is we
No, it's
took
all good.
ABCH, which is the legacy organization that Andre started. We took their book that they put in place and used that as the framework for this, augmented it, added some more information, and worked with our subject matter experts to bring it up to date. Because obviously this was written in 1996, you know, this is 2026. There's a little bit of a time frame difference there.
Awesome. I want the book. Okay.
We might make that happen for you, Tracy.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to look through that. So.
I know a guy.
Do you? Awesome. Well, thank you guys both so much. And
Thank you.
Xavier, I'm glad that you brought those. Can you show this? Can you put that actual link in this afterwards too in our group?
Of course, absolutely.
Great. So anybody that's watching this, thank you for staying, and lots of great information that was on here. If you're seeing this in different groups that is not right on Salon Training, I encourage you to go to salontraining.com, the actual group, not the page, because that's where we're going to put all the links at, and you can find more information. We love talking to amazing people in our industry, such as your guys' self. And X Factor, I just got to tell you, thank you so much too for all that you do. He works for Salon Training as well. He does all the emails and stuff. And I can tell you our emails have gone so well now compared to when we didn't have you. So I appreciate all the help that you do. So.
Well, I appreciate the call out. It's been nothing but pleasure and just a natural relationship between us both, you know, in just email marketing. But just for those who don't know, I also own and operate X Factor Agency. It is a growth partner solutions firm. And what I mean by that, we offer not just marketing, but automations, design, literally filling in the gaps in your salon, businesses, online businesses, wherever you have a business, we fill in the gaps to ensure that you can focus, as Tracey mentioned earlier, focus on the business, not in the business. So I'll also include that link as well for the group as well, Tracey, for those who want to learn more about those services as well.
All right. Well, thank you, both of you. Jesse, we'll see you in September at the business, Salon Owners Business, which again, we'll put that link in here as well. So thanks everybody.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank
Talk to you later.
you.
Okay, bye.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.